Hey, Conor here in Barcelona, and I want to comment on something that I hear from people at times when the concept of coaching, of mentoring, of education, of training comes up. And they'll look at me and they'll say, I'm fine now. And I think this is one of the most dangerous statements that can be heard. So often, we're fine now, but if you're not planting the seeds now, for a year from now, for 3 years from now, from 10 years from now, the chances that you're going to be fine in a year, in 10 years, in 3 years is very low. You're fine today because by accident or intention, some time ago you planted the seeds that allow you to be fine now. And what I see time and time again in small businesses is this cycle where there's a crisis and a need to survive, and there's a lot of energy put in, and the team comes together, and finally survival is set. But the manager, the team, they're so exhausted from that crisis survival that they just relax now. And they relax because they're fine. There's enough money in the bank account to pay the bills. There's enough clients to keep the business going. There's a bit of growth. And they just really scale back their effort to recover. And what happens when you operate in that mode for a year, 2 years, 3 years? Another crisis. For me, one of the important things in life is not to just rest on your laurels, not to just be fine now, but to be very clear, what is the activity that you're doing now that is not delivering results now, but is preparing you for the things you want to be doing a year from now, the things you want to be 10 years from now. I remember when Xavier Marcet, who's a leading leadership and management speaker here in Spain, he came and spoke to Vistage in Spain a few years ago. And one of the things he said is, a leader's agenda, any human's agenda, 70% of your time is on here and now, is dealing with the people, the projects, the things that are here and now in your life. 20% of your time is preparing this year, preparing for the things that are over the next 12 months. But 10% needs to be putting in place the seeds, the relationships, the skills in you now for the projects that are going to be coming 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the way. Yeah, and right now today, if you're not dedicating that 10% to learning AI, to thinking about how AI is going to shape your business, your engagement with customers, you're going to be very lost. I think one of the questions I've had in the last couple of weeks is AI. When I first saw ChatGPT 2 years ago, I was amazed. It was one of the first technologies in a few years that I've just sat back and thought, oh my, this is going to change life. And now 2 years later, one of the questions I was, why don't we see that much change in our businesses, in our life, in our daily interaction, in the way I teach courses, in the way courses are evaluated? And I think one of the ideas here, I was watching a YouTube video, an interview with Tucker Carlson, who's an economist, and he was talking about these big technologies. We often expect to see transformational change. And what AI will do is not going to, from 1 month to the next, suddenly just change society. What he said is it's going to increase GDP growth by 0.5% every year for the next 30 years. Now, 0.5% each year doesn't feel like very much when you're living through it. But compounding at that rate, that extra 0.5%, is going to massively accelerate what comes 10 years down the line. And he was saying, it's not that things right now are going to come, instead of coming in 5 months, they come in a month. But there's a lot of drug discovery that instead of taking 20 years is going to take 10 years. There are a lot of advances in technology that instead of taking 20 years, they're going to take 10 years. And we're not going to notice that as we live through it. But 10 years from now, we're really going to see the difference. And I found it profound, this concept that when you're living through great change, one day to the next, it's a tiny percentage difference. But that percentage difference compounded day after day, month after month, year after year, decade after decade, absolutely changes what life is going to look like. So this idea, if you've said to yourself at any moment recently, Whew, I'm fine now. Oh. Are you making sure that in Xavier Marcet's concept that 70% of your time is absolutely looking after the things that keep you fine now, but there's 20% going to what's going to allow that you are fine in a year, and 10% is going into thinking, where do you want to be 5, 10, 15 years from now? What do you want your health to be like 5, 10, 15 years from now? What do you want your relations to be like 5, 10, 15 years from now? What are you doing that is not generating any impact or result today, but is planting a seed that the you 10 years from now will look back and feel very grateful that you, at your age today, had the discipline, the commitment to plant a seed that only comes right 10, 15, 20 years from now. I think there's a famous Chinese saying that the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree, today, right now. So here, I'm fine now, wonderful, but you are fine now because of the seeds and the skills that you planted a year, 5 years, 10 years ago, the things that you've started to put into your life some time ago. And if you don't continue to plant those seeds, it's not likely that you'll be fine. You'll not be fine financially, you'll not be fine health-wise, you'll not be fine in terms of your connection and your clarity on who you are 5, 10, 15 years out. So have a good one. Thank you. It's Conor. Thank you for your likes, your comments, your shares. Keeps me connecting, sharing these thoughts, pulling out the video. Have a great one. See you soon.